Everything you create can become something. There can be a purpose for everything you create, no matter how small. As a singer-songwriter, you're always creating. In order to release consistent content, creators need to be able to make decisions to better the end product, whether it's editing, trimming parts, or a lot of times, eliminating them entirely. I've always felt that it's up to the creator to decide when a song's complete. Otherwise, art remains open-ended and never finished. However, putting that finished stamp on a project, it often means being honest with yourself about what's realistic, what's good, what's bad, if the audience will enjoy it. Hell, if you enjoy it. In making those critical decisions, content that you are planning on releasing often hits the cutting room floor. Not everything that you make is going to be good enough for release, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have potential to become something else. Every album I've ever released has B-sides that weren't included on the final release for a number of reasons. Either they didn't fit the overall theme of the project, or they weren't up to grade quality-wise, or they were simply too indulgent or corny. Within reason, I don't believe that any musical idea is inherently bad, and it can be worked on to become something memorable. Every song idea or little scrap that I have a demo of, I've eventually used for some other purpose. For example, let's say you have an unfinished audio idea that you always liked, but you could never find a home for. Try using that recording as background music for a different video, like the one behind my voice right now. Or say you have an 80s pop track and a metalcore track just sitting around collecting dust. Why not try combining those ideas together? You might find yourself with some sweet new sound or conceptually unique project that you never would have thought of originally.
Blood from the grave of my enemies smearing the dance floor.
Let's say you have some leftover or cut video footage. You can always use that as a cutaway bit for another video, or as supporting content for your online or socials. Everything you create can become something if you apply it as supporting content. It starts as a fun drive on a summer evening, but a night that begins in dancing can quickly end with a bang. A tragedy that could have been avoided by not listening to Usher while driving. Drive safe, and don't drive Usher the Influence. That was all made from leftover footage. It ain't the Mona Lisa, but it's an example of essentially making something out of scraps. Tolkien wrote that even the smallest person can change the course of the future. And in my opinion, that logic also applies to media creation. It can just be one tiny idea that you wrote down that, if nourished properly, can potentially become your finest work. In my opinion, you can polish a turd. In fact, with love, with focus, you can shine up a turd so bright that it's no longer recognizable as turdish. At the end of the day, sometimes your creations just straight up aren't really that good. Sometimes you write a song that's bad. That's cool. They can't all be the Mona Lisa, like we said. But the effort and energy spent honing your craft is never time wasted in the big picture. Sometimes a song just hasn't found its home yet. If you think of the all-time great songs that some artists have sat on over the years before finally bringing the idea to fruition, Blondie's Heart of Glass or Rolling Stone's Start Me Up, they were reggae tracks before evolving into their final form. So who knows, maybe one of those demos that you have collecting dust on your phone or computer, they could be your Heart of Glass or Start Me Up, but you'll never know until you nourish that idea properly. And don't try to force a square into a circle. If it doesn't fit the project, let it go. You don't want to potentially hurt the quality of your release by forcing it, you know? Consider quality over quantity. Personally, I've made mistakes in the past, kind of falling into a cycle of releasing music just to release music, to show people the output that I'm capable of. And ultimately, I believe the truth is, if I were to have spent a little more time editing myself and focusing more on those projects, I think they would have been more well received. Everything can be something, but always be mindful that everything doesn't need to be something. Even if you're an artist that wears their heart on their sleeve, never lose sight of the fact that you're in charge of what you create, not the other way around. Sometimes you're simply not sure if something's good. You just don't know. If you have a network of people you trust to give you valuable feedback, that's a good time to utilize that network. That's the time to kind of let it breathe. Step away for a week and listen with fresh ears and rediscover what you have, or don't have. Always keep in mind that you'll always be your own biggest and worst critic. If you hate it, chances are someone out there might still probably like it. You never know when or how a song will resonate with you, and it's important to keep that in mind when releasing your own music. Maybe the song could resonate with somebody else in a way that you couldn't possibly foresee. Everything can be something, and everything has to start somewhere. It's up to you to choose what to nourish and prioritize its value to you. Just know that by creating anything at all in the first place, that's a victory. Whether it becomes your most successful release, or if it seemingly becomes part of the floorboards on the cutting room floor.